Today, we're going to dive into one single, really powerful idea. It's an idea that shapes our friendships, our communities, and honestly, it shapes who we are.
I mean, think about it. What does true strength really look like? Is it about being the loudest voice in the room, about winning every single argument, or could it be something quieter, something, a little more profound? We're going to explore a different kind of power today, one that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And there it is. That's the core idea. We tend to think of tolerance as being passive, right? Maybe even a little weak. But through a few short, amazing stories, we're about to see how it can actually be the most resilient, most transformative force we have.
All right, so first up, let's take a look at how tolerance really works in these moments of leadership and teaching, where you'll see that a gentle hand can be so much more effective than an iron fist.
Okay, so picture this. A silent monastery. Late one night, an old Zen master is taking a walk, and he spots something out of place. A chair propped up against a corner of the wall. He knows exactly what it means. One of the young monks has broken the rules and snuck out for the night.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. What does the master do? He could have sounded the alarm, set some kind of trap, or just gotten ready to dish out a really harsh punishment. But nope. Instead, he just quietly moves the chair aside and he crouches down in its place, waiting there in the darkness.
A little while later, the young monk returns. He climbs over the wall in the pitch black. He takes a leap, thinking he's going to land on that sturdy chair, and he lands right on his master's back. Can you imagine that moment, just heart-stopping? He's totally frozen, bracing for the absolute worst.
But the master doesn't scold him. He doesn't even bring up the broken rule. Instead, he just speaks with his calm, caring voice and says something filled not with anger, but with genuine concern for the monk's own well-being.
So what just happened there? The master made a choice. He chose to educate, not to punish. And that one simple act of tolerance taught that young monk more about respect and compassion than any lecture ever could. It was a lesson, you can bet, that stuck with him for his entire life.
And this kind of quiet strength isn't just for Zen masters and monasteries. Let's look at another quick story from a totally different kind of leader.
So the story goes, a barber was shaving President Chiang Kai-shek. Suddenly, the president coughs, the razor slips, and he gets a small cut. The barber is, of course, absolutely terrified, thinking his life is over. But the president immediately puts him at ease with these words, taking all the blame himself. It's such a small moment, right? But it's a perfect example of how tolerance from someone in power can just instantly melt away fear and build this incredible sense of loyalty. It's a choice to absorb a mistake, not deflect it. A move that costs you nothing, but earns you everything.
Okay, so this power of tolerance, it's not just about one-on-one interactions. It can actually shape entire communities. And in our next story, we're going to see how it can literally change the landscape.
Let's go back in time to Qing Dynasty China. The family of a really important government minister, a guy named Zhang Tingyu, gets into this huge fight with their neighbors. Over what? A property line, just a few feet of land. Both families want to build a wall, and neither side is willing to give an inch. So the minister's mother gets so frustrated, she writes a letter to her powerful son, basically asking him to pull some strings and fix this.
This was part of the minister's reply, but instead of using his power to crush the neighbor, he sent back this beautiful poem. He basically asked his mom, "You sent a letter all this way just for a wall? Why not just give them the 3 feet?" He reminds her that even the Great Wall is still standing, but the great emperor who built it is long gone. What really lasts isn't property, it's goodwill.
I mean, just look at the choice they had here. On one side, you've got your pride and a tiny little strip of land, and on the other, lasting peace with your neighbors and a legacy of wisdom that gets passed down for generations. The minister knew that what they stood to gain was so much bigger than what they had to give up.
So his mother, inspired by her son's words, orders her family to build their wall 3 feet back from that disputed line. And get this, the neighbors, when they see this incredible gesture, they're so moved that they do the exact same thing. And the result? A 6-foot-wide lane was created between the two houses. It became a physical monument to tolerance, famously known as the 6-foot lane.
Okay, so we've seen tolerance in a leader and in a community. Now let's bring it home, into our most personal relationships. How does this unconquerable power become the secret sauce for a long, happy partnership? Let's set the scene. It's a golden wedding anniversary. A couple celebrating 50 years together, and someone asks the wife, "What is the secret? How in the world did you make it last so long?"
And her answer was just brilliant. She said that on her wedding day, she decided she would forgive her husband for 10 of his faults. But over 50 years, she just never actually got around to writing down what those 10 faults were. So anytime he did something that annoyed her, she just thought to herself, well, lucky for him, that must be one of the 10.
I love that. Her secret was basically choosing the health of the relationship over being right in the moment. It was a conscious choice to just let it go. And this very same idea of choosing happiness over being right shows up in another really powerful story about a long marriage.
This comes from a story about a man who smoked a lot, and his friends would come over and they'd all smoke heavily. His wife never said a thing, just quietly opened a window. When her friends asked why she didn't try to stop him, this was her incredible answer. She actually valued his present happiness more than trying to force him to live a longer life filled with bitterness.
And here is the beautiful twist in the story. When the husband finally realized how much she cared about his happiness, that she was willing to make that kind of sacrifice for him, that's what inspired him to change. He decided he couldn't stand the thought of leaving her 20 years early. Her tolerance did what nagging never ever could.
So, from a quiet monastery to a neighborhood lane to a 50-year marriage, we've seen this incredible quiet power at work again and again. Let's pull it all together and see what it really means for us.
It's like this amazing ripple effect. For friends, tolerance builds a foundation for a lifetime of companionship. For couples, it forges a love that can truly last. And when you scale that idea up, when you apply it to whole countries and cultures, it becomes the only real path forward to a peaceful and beautiful world.
And that really brings us to the final thought. All these stories, they seem to suggest that tolerance isn't about giving up or giving in. It's about creating something better, understanding, harmony, real, lasting change. It's a strength that is available to every single one of us. So the only question left is, how are you going to use it?